Welcome to the podcast where relationships, confidence, and determination all converge into an amazing, heartfelt experience. This is Speaking from the Heart.
Welcome back to episode number 144 of Speaking from the Heart. Today we have Sara Bohling as our guest, and Sara's life is filled with stories of challenge and triumph, starting from day one. She was born very premature in the 1980s with a very small chance of survival. But here she is, being a guest on Speaking from the Heart. She became a high-level competitive gymnast and endured a career-ending accident as a teen. Sara then went on to nursing school and became an NICU nurse, working alongside the same nurses that cared for her as a baby. She is married, has 2 teen daughters, and a sweet golden retriever named Remy. She wrote a book about her journey called When Grit and Grace Collide, persevering through life's challenges with grit and God's grace, and have started her own business called Cedar Wellness Coaching. Sara's passionate about creating an authentic, grace-filled life for herself and her family, which flows right into her work with her clients. And I have to say, for somebody that has been through so many different types of situations, especially throughout her life, to get to where she is today, it has to give you a lot of battle marks, stitches, if you will. And I think that we even hear a lot about that in her story today when she shares about her perspectives, even throughout her whole entire life, and how that has fundamentally changed the trajectory, let alone why she became a nurse in the first place. But the most important thing to even take away from this, which I think that you're going to get right away, is that it's about that work and life balance. The things that are really played up to be important. But when you boil it down into realistic tendencies, it's not so easy as you think. With the variety of different demands and assessments that we all need to have in life, just keep in mind that when you hear Sara's story today and why she keeps pursuing to help others, it's about taking care of yourself and others. That is the margin that we need to meet. But with that, let's go to the episode. All right, we're here with Sara Bohling. Sara, thanks for sharing your heart with us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me. Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm happy that you are here too. And I appreciate you taking some time to not only share your background, but also give our listeners an interesting perspective, because I feel that your story, as I have already given to our listeners, might be of not only tragedy, but of redemption. And I feel like there's a lot of redemption with this and overcoming the odds. So I actually want to start with that because I already mentioned that you were a competitive gymnast and you had this accident that happened to you. So I was wondering if you can dive into what exactly happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started gymnastics when I was 5 years old. The teacher at recess called my parents one day and said, "You need to get her into gymnastics training before she hurts herself because she's walking along the top of the monkey bars." So I started gymnastics training and was really naturally talented in it. I excelled very quickly, joined the competitive team. We did some traveling, and I was doing gymnastics 4 hours a night, 5 days a week. It was like a part-time job. And I loved it. I really enjoyed the challenge. It kept my body healthy, all those kind of things. And one day I was at a competition and I was warming up and I was on the vault and I was running down the runway to jump from the springboard onto the vault, and my steps got off. And if you are a gymnast or you know a gymnast, you know it's very important that your steps are the same pattern and the right distance apart. Well, my steps got off and that was a cascade of events. I didn't hit the springboard in the right spot, so my hands didn't go on the vault in the right spot, which caused me to not rotate my body enough times to land on my feet. So I landed on my head instead of my feet.
Yikes.
Yeah. No good. No good. In front of the whole audience. The whole audience was watching this whole spectacle unfold. So yeah, I ended up breaking my neck in a couple of different places. And at that time, thankfully, I had, because I was a gymnast, a lot of muscle mass in my neck, which really helped protect those bones and my spinal cord. I did not have any paralysis or anything like that, which is really an incredible blessing. Someone in our area, she was a cheerleader at our local college. She had the same injury the year before, and she was paralyzed from the neck down from that injury. So when I heard that that was the injury that I had, I got really scared because I knew what had happened to her. But thankfully, God was watching over me and I had protection that that was not going to be part of my story.
I noticed too that you were actually born very premature. So, taking this a few steps back, I find it interesting that you were able to be a gymnast, be able to compete at a high level, and then this accident happened. But may I ask a little bit about why you were born very premature? Was there complications during the pregnancy with your mom?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So I was born in the 80s. And in the 80s, there was not a lot of technology and advances for premature babies. If you were born more than 8 weeks early or so, it was hard for you to survive. They didn't have the ventilators, the breathing, the medications, all those kind of things. So I was born at 24 weeks, which is like 6 months of pregnancy.
Wow, that is
Uh,
very premature.
yes, I weighed 2 pounds and 2 ounces when I was born. And my mom just went into labor early. And at the time, the doctors were like, no, I don't think it's labor. I just think you're constipated or something like that. And they weren't really taking her very seriously until it was too late. And when you're in labor, once you pass a certain point, you can't go back. You can't stop it. So, yep, we had passed that point. Literally, yes, from day one, I had some uphill challenges and have been trying to rise above all of them.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why I brought it up too, because you not only had to overcome the challenges of being premature, but you also had to deal with not only the accident that you had as a gymnast. I'm curious, was there anything else that might have happened while you were growing up too?
I had a lot of stitches when I was growing up. For being a gymnast, I was rather accident prone. My grandma always said, you're the most ungraceful gymnast I've ever known.
Well, maybe grandma knew that you were going to be destined for better things. So thanks, grandma, for helping
Yeah.
Sarah out.
I love grandma. Yes. I was always tripping on the playground and getting stitches on my chin or something like that. I think I had stitches 10 times before I was 10 years old. It was just kind of crazy, but nothing else dramatic between being born premature and the gymnastics accident.
We had these two related medical things. You were being stitched up all the time.
Yes.
It makes perfect sense to me why you entered the nursing field. So it all comes together for me. But I really am curious, other than maybe the obvious, is there a real motivation as to why you decided to go to nursing school after you were done with high school? Was there something that you were looking to do to be able to achieve with becoming a nurse and helping those that maybe the doctors and even other people as patients?
Right. I really just wanted to help other people. My mom was in the medical field and I was really drawn to the science classes in high school. And I just thought it would be a great career, a compassionate career of serving others. And once I started nursing school, I actually got to do some shadowing in the NICU. And only a few nursing students get to do that. And I was one of them. And everyone else in my group said it was so boring and it was so quiet. And how could you ever work here? And I was sold. I'm like, this is amazing. I love this place. And knowing that I was a premature baby myself. So I was really drawn to the NICU. So that's where I spent the first major portion of my nursing career is in the NICU. And I actually got to work in the same NICU that I was a baby in. And I worked alongside the nurses that took care of me.
And the NICU, that would stand for my listeners, the neonatal.
Neonatal intensive care unit.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure of because I know a few people that are close to me that have also had their children through the NICU. And
Yeah.
my mom, ironically, didn't work in that, but she worked in the nursing field as an LPN, a licensed
Yeah.
practical nurse, at a nursing care facility for many years. And she did that, get this, Sarah, when she was in her 50s
Yeah.
and went back to school and did that. I was so proud of my mom.
Amazing. Go
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah. Go grandma and go mom. So there we
Right. Some
go.
good examples for us, ladies.
Yeah. I know you said too that you also worked in the same place where you were taken care of in the NICU. Did that bring back any sort of memories? Did that really help you to kind of feel like you were at home and also helping these other people because you had that association of growing up? Do you think you were a better nurse as a result of those experiences?
Mm. I think it helped give me an innate connection to the babies and the families. Obviously, I don't remember being in the NICU because I was a tiny baby, but I remember my parents talking about the stresses of being in the NICU and working in the NICU and watching how much these nurses care for the babies that they are responsible for. It really opened my heart even wider to providing the best care for these families because they're in arguably the scariest time of their life and they're trusting you with the life of their child. So, absolutely, we had really tender, vulnerable moments and conversations every day while I was working in the NICU.
Do you think that technology has come a long way since the 1980s? Because I was also an 80s child myself and more of the late 80s, mind you. So I always joke, and I'm sure you've heard this joke too. I'm a Cold War baby, so I made it through the Cold War. Sorry, from my Gen Zers, you have no idea what I'm talking about. That shows how old I am at this point. But I'm kind of curious, all joking aside, do you feel like technology has helped the medical field to be able to take care of these sort of situations, or do you think that there's still some work to be done from your opinion?
1000%. There are countless babies that are alive today that would not have been alive then because of the advances in technology. Sometimes, to be honest, I feel like we try to save babies that are too early and we are causing them more pain than harm because technology has gone so far. It's like we're trying to push that envelope farther. And unfortunately, there comes a point when it's just not in the best interest of the baby to continue pushing and putting them in so much pain in the hopes of survival. So that's kind of a double-edged sword, actually.
It is. And I feel like we could possibly overdiagnose, and some of those diagnoses never come to happen. I mean, I do feel, though, that the medical profession, technology wise, has come a long way. But I think that we probably lost some of the human touch a little bit, too, with some doctors. I
Mhm.
know some people have had some bad experiences, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about you. With that said, I want to move on to the fact that you started a coaching business. So I got to put two and two together here for a second. So you've done not only being a gymnast, not only you were premature, not only were you a nurse, but then all of a sudden it seems like a left-hand turn happened and you wanted to be a coach. So walk us through what was in your thought process from leaving nursing, which you've done for over 20 years, to be able to do coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one really cool thing about me is I am a registered nurse and my coaching is a certification within nursing. So it is board certified nurse coach. So I had to take an examination. I'm certified by a national board, and I will have to maintain those certifications as part of my nursing license. So it's cool that we get to combine both of those things. And because of my experience as a nurse, I can hold a different kind of space for people that have medical issues, maybe bring in more of the holistic approach because of my expansive knowledge that some other coaches just might not have because they haven't had that experience and training quite yet.
I love that. And I have always said on this show, I know I'm a coach, and I've had other coaches on the show, and people ask me, are you crazy? You're bringing your competition on the show. And I said, no, they're not. They do something completely different, and they come at it at all different angles. So I embrace them. And
Mm,
this is yet another fine example of it, Sarah, because I never had somebody on the show thus far that has been through nursing but was board certified to be able to provide nursing coaching essentially to clients. So, how would you distinguish yourself from, say, the traditional coach? And I know you've mentioned a few things, but can you more specifically walk us through maybe an example or two of how that would differ, especially with somebody that has a medical issue? And by all means, I'm not asking you to talk about any existing clients because I know you have confidentiality and HIPAA
sure.
requirements too. But I wonder if you could just share at a high level how that would work.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe there's someone who wants to lose 10 pounds, right? I think we all want to lose 10 pounds.
I need
So,
to lose 20 pounds, so
yeah,
that's great.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. So my client wants to lose 20 pounds. I'm not a traditional coach, so I don't know for sure how they would approach it. But if I were approaching it to see why they want to lose 20 pounds, first we're going to do a holistic life assessment. And we're going to talk about not only what you eat and how much do you exercise, but how's your sleep? How's your stress management? How's your support at home? What's your spiritual life like? How are your finances impacting things? And then once we get kind of that baseline holistic assessment, then we get to go into, okay, but why do you want to lose 10 pounds? Because more often than not, it's not just that they want to lose 10 pounds. It's they want to feel more comfortable in their body. They want to feel more confident. They want to perform at a different level than they're performing now. They want more energy to spend with their kids so that they can create more time and memories. So really, they want to lose 10 pounds so that they can be more fully present in their kids' lives. So it's that type of diving deeper, peeling back the onion layers to figure out what's really at the heart of this quest to lose 10 pounds and get healthier. And then we can explore all the ways and all the layers of support that can help us lose 10 pounds and shed some of those unwanted mindsets and thoughts and limiting beliefs that are probably have been hanging around for a while.
I failed to mention earlier the name of your coaching business, which I should do now. It's Cedar Wellness Coaching, and we'll talk more about how you can get in touch with Sara as we get towards the end of the show. But Sara, with starting Cedar Wellness, have you been changed by not only the clients that you've worked with, but maybe you have learned a thing or two from even the people you've worked with? And I love asking this question. I'll give you a moment to think about it because I'm sure there's numerous examples you have. But I know personally myself, I've been open now for more than a year and a half and have learned so much about not only myself doing this podcast, first off, but even from my own clients that it's allowed me to evolve and be a better coach to not only find ways and strategies to navigate through challenging times, but also get them to where they need to be. Because I want them to ultimately, in my version of my business, to be the best version of who they are. So do you have anything that comes to mind that has helped you at this point to get to where you're at for you clients?
Absolutely. I think it's always an honor to support clients. And I don't know about you, but I always find that when I'm working with a client, so often they will bring up an issue or a challenge that I also am facing in my own life. And it's such a reflection that I need to keep continuing to do the work myself, the inner work, the mindset work, all of those kind of things, prioritizing my balance and that kind of thing, so that I can take my clients deeper because I can't take my clients any deeper than I have already gone myself. So yeah, whether it's perfectionism coming up, high achiever, I work with a lot of women that are in a leadership role as well as balancing motherhood. And I was in that role myself in the NICU, and it is a challenging role to be in. And we haven't talked about this yet, but being in a role like that, I was a bit unbalanced in that role. And I think that was maybe part of what led to a big health journey that we haven't touched on yet. That really was why I started my coaching business, why I left the NICU and started my coaching business, because I need a better life balance. And 14-hour shifts in the hospital is not my definition of very good work-life balance.
I overworked myself quite a lot in a variety of management jobs. I'm a government professional and still do that even as I continue to build my own coaching business. But even with that said, it has definitely taken a toll on me in my early 20s because I didn't learn what that balance was until much later on in life. And so with you saying that and about your health journey, which I didn't realize that was a big part of this, what have you learned about transitioning into the coaching world that has helped you in your health?
I've learned that I need far more margin than I ever realized. I need more margin in my schedule. I need more margin to take care of myself and my family and to be able to be fully present with my family. I have two girls that are middle school and high school. And people always say your kids need you when they're young, and they do. That's true. But your kids need you equally as much or maybe more as they're going through these teenage years and all the things that are coming at them. So I need enough margin in my life to be able to be present and be there for them when they're ready to talk. Because if I'm not there then I'm going to miss the moment. So that's what I mean when I say I need more margin to take care of my own body and my kids and yeah, just be more present.
I love the way you said that, margin. I don't think of it that way. I mean, I usually use the words time and scheduling and things like that, and they're so 20th century, putting on a calendar, balancing
Mhm.
that. But margin, that's a whole unique aspect because it's such more broad and encompassing of what I think people need to work on. So I really am curious now. I have to
Mhm.
ask this. So, how do you find margin then on your day to day? I did have a question about you working with healthcare professionals. Those are in leadership roles. So, glad you
Yeah.
brought that up. But I wonder if you could start with yourself and then we'll expand into that. How do you create that margin?
Yeah, for sure. I think part of it is being really intentional. As we know, and I am fully guilty of this as well, but it's really easy to spend an unintentional 40 minutes scrolling on your phone.
Hmm.
So being super mindful about, okay, I've checked my social media for 10 minutes and now I need to be done because I need to go move my body in the morning or I need to go walk the dog. And I want to enjoy being outside walking the dog and like actually looking at the sky and noticing the grass that's getting greener in the spring and like those kind of things to really bring more presence into my day. Super simple things instead of talking to my friend, half paying attention to her on the phone while half paying attention to my dog who's trying to run away or chase a squirrel. Like little tangible things like that. I like to help myself and support other people in where can you make the little tangible shifts that might feel like no big deal, but when you actually change your life with them, it makes all the difference in the world. If you could imagine having an extra hour of your day of you time, think of the possibilities and how much more balanced and more margin in your life you would have.
I've had other people on the show, Sarah, that have talked about it in terms of energy, how we use our energy, not only in the transference of not only the actions that we perform on a daily basis, but also the energy of the people that we surround ourselves with. And you are essentially saying it in a way that actually makes a lot more practical sense than people being like, oh, yes, it's another energy conversation. Let's do some Reiki. Let's do some power yoga, all these different health things, which obviously those are all important. And I'm sure as a nurse, you would absolutely recommend those sort of things into a daily routine. But you said it with such intentionality that I feel that you've had people that you've worked with to kind of find the margin, if you will. So,
Yeah.
building off of what you just said, how do you help healthcare professionals or even help clients in general that would be asking you to help find that margin? Is there certain things that you do that help them to walk through that? And maybe you could just give a general example of something that our listeners can do even today, for that matter, that would help them find that margin.
Yeah, for sure. So the first step, I think, being a nurse is assessment. We need to assess the situation and do the whole body, whole life assessment. How is your body feeling? What demands do you have at work? What demands do you have at home? What support system? What resources do you have? All of that kind of stuff. So I kind of have a framework of the foundation that we're working with. And then once we get through there, I like to ask them, like, what is margin and balance for you? Because it's going to be different for every person. I have worked with a client in the past who she is a female business owner and she has two small kids, and her husband is a business owner as well. And he has on call hours and his schedule can be a little bit crazy. So for her, even at 15 minutes of time that's not being pulled in every direction feels like such a gift. So how can we look at your life and your schedule and how can we find 15 minutes for you to start with? And I know that people are like, really, it's 15 minutes, but literally that is a hard task sometimes for people. And that's where we have to start is we're going to start small and tangible because if we ask right away for 2 hours off the top, it's not realistic. So I'm here for realistic, implementable, I think I made that word up, changes to start and to take baby steps. Because you know how it goes when you take too big of a step at the gym. If you're like, okay, great, I'm going to get fit. I'm going to start by running 12 miles today. That's not going to work out. You got to start running half a mile and then a mile and build on those things. So with this particular client, one of the things we did was she had not been very good in the past about being specific and asking for help at home. And she got a little more courage and a little bit more direct with her partner and said, "Hey, could you help do this, this, and this?" And he very willing to help. He just didn't know that she wanted him to do that. So just being direct and asking for those simple things really gave her an extra 15 minutes while dinner was being made so that she could play with her kids. And that means all the difference when you can be more intentional and more present with your children, even if it's for 15 minutes.
Even just having that extra 15 minutes to do something with intentionality, to be able to do with purpose, I
Yeah.
think speaks volumes to why sometimes we don't give ourselves that credence to work on ourselves, meaning be able to read a book, to be able to run that half mile,
Yeah.
to be able to spend time with our kids. I think those are all important things because like you said, there's a holistic component to being able to provide that self-worth. And if we're not able to do that, if we're not able to shed some time to be able to do those experiences, well, that creates a lot of difficulty in the long run, being able to feel like we have anything to give if we don't have that energy or that margin to
Yeah.
give in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Do you think there's a crisis in being well balanced, especially in the United States? Because I feel like there is with not only the fact that now we have to work 2 or more jobs, we don't get the opportunity to take care of things because the costs are so high. So we're putting off medical appointments. We might even be putting off buying nutritious food, things of that nature. Do you think that's contributing to a lot of the different issues that maybe you see in clients too? Or do you think it's something else?
1000% yes. I think it contributes to the state of our mental health. It's a huge factor in the rise in chronic illness in our country and other preventable illnesses because we don't have the margin and the balance in our world. We don't have the margin to, like you said, prepare and buy nutritious food. Maybe we can buy it, but we don't give ourselves the time to prepare it. So then it goes rotten in the fridge because we didn't actually cut it up. We don't have the time that we need and deserve to spend with our families, whether that's children, nieces and nephews, aging parents. We don't even have the time that we should have to spend time with our pets who give us so much love and joy in our lives because we're too busy running the rat race of life and trying to keep up with everyone's standards and raising prices and all of those things, which really hinder us in living a slower, more intentional life.
Yeah. And I'm guilty as charged when it comes to throwing out food that should have been made and cut up many times. I can't tell you how many hundreds, even thousands of dollars that I've thrown away just because of the lack of time that I give myself to do it, because of the busyness of our lives, let
Mhm.
alone all the things that happen through the day to day that sometimes I'm beating myself up for it. And I still do that even to this day, Sarah. I know I shared a little bit about my story before we started, but I think that we often are programmed to think that we have to do things a certain way because society tells us to. But as
Mhm.
many of my guests, even on this show, have said, it's about being able to separate yourself from that and be able to help you not only create that context in your life so that you can give yourself that time, but to also press forward. So, we're getting close to the end of our time, and I have been thinking about the fact that you have been through a lot of these unique experiences that people sometimes don't even know what it's like to experience that. Being premature born, being in an accident, in a sports competition, being a gymnast, being a NICU nurse, and then also helping others find essentially the holistic balance. Do you feel that there's more to give in what you're developing? And when I ask you that question, I'm really referring to the fact that do you feel like you're doing what you have set out to do finally in your life, to feel that purpose, to feel that grit, that opportunity that you have? In other words, are you living with grace? Because
Mhm.
I noticed that that is a big part of why you build this foundation to help others in your coaching, because you want to live those same principles. But do you think there's still work yet to do, especially for yourself?
I think there's always work to do, always. I think that I would not be honest if I didn't say that there wasn't work to be done. I think you can always balance yourself more and be more intentional with your time and your energy and what you're consuming in any way, whether that's what you're listening to, what you're watching on TV, what you're scrolling, what you're putting into your body, the places that you are letting your body be, whether it's in nature or in the city, like so many ways that we can consume. And I think that absolutely there's always room. I'm on the path for sure. And I'm so much more balanced than I was. My health journey really inspired me to create this business so that I can help other women not be in the same spot, and men too, but help them not become in the same spot where your body forces you to stop what you're doing in order to pay attention and listen to it. So creating a more balanced life with more margin in it so that you can continue to serve the people that you really love.
Being able to serve those people is not only a blessing, because I think for being a coach, being able to help those people is such a rewarding feeling. That's like what I enjoy doing, is to help those people see maybe something that they didn't see before. But for what you've said too, I think it's so important to always think with the framework of there's always something more to learn. So why not enjoy what this life gives us? Sara, thanks so much for sharing all this. I want to give you the last few minutes to pitch your business, Cedar Wellness Coaching. I also know we didn't talk about your book, which is called When Grit and Grace Collide, Persevering Through Life's Challenges with Grit and God's Grace. I was wondering maybe you can also throw in a couple tidbits about the book and how people can access it. Maybe they're interested in purchasing it. But let us know how we can get in contact with you, and I'll give you the last few minutes to do all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So my business is Cedar Wellness and Coaching, and primarily it focuses on supporting women that are in a leadership role as they balance the role of leadership and motherhood and releasing the guilt that comes along with those roles, slowing down to have more intentional living, being present with your kids so that you are actually listening to what they're telling you and you're watching movie night with them instead of checking emails on your phone while you're supposed to be watching the Disney movie. So really just helping them support in that way. And also I like to support organizations in a leadership coaching capacity as well. And yeah, just helping them create that life with more margin so that they can be an even better leader and the best version of themselves with that lens. And you can find me on Instagram, cedar.wellness.coaching. Facebook is the same. I think my link for connecting with my landing page will be in the notes. And as far as my book, yeah, you did a great job saying the title, and it's available on Amazon. I self-published it, so there's might be misplaced commas, not the perfect grammatical sentence structure, but I really wanted it to be a transparent conversation about my life and my journey and feeling like we're having coffee together, not a textbook style read.
Awesome. And I encourage those that are interested in more of Sara's story, since you got to hear portions of that today. I encourage you to check that out too. And I'll also have a link in the episode notes if you want to go and purchase the published book that is available. You know, Sara, I always find it interesting to have women on the show that have your interesting type of background, because for me, I always wanted to have not only people in my life that I would surround myself that would help push me and make me feel like I'm encouraged to do whatever is possible, but you have that nurturing spirit, I can tell. We were even talking about your daughter before we got on today's episode, and I know that you are definitely leading that life of intentionality, being able to feel grace and fill that void for so many people. And I can just see that radiate from you. And I think those sort of people are needed in this world, that we have those caregivers. And I will always stick up for nurses because of my mom and my sisters being able to go through that program. I have a true appreciation for what you do, because if it wasn't for nurses, doctors would not be able to do their job, and nobody would be able to take care of each other if we didn't have somebody by our bedside to do just that. So thank you for the over 20 years and continuing service that you do in the nursing field, and doing it in I want to say a weird way, but it's actually a very unique way of coaching, which for all those reasons, thanks for being on Speaking from the Heart today. Thanks for sharing a little bit about your story, and continue being an awesome coach that you are. I always appreciate having others on the show, and only root for you to continue having great success.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your very kind words. And I appreciate the opportunity. And I think I will forever be serving and nurturing others as long as I am here on this earth. So I appreciate those words.
I think that is such an important role, especially in society, to have those people that nurture us. So thanks for continuing to do that. And again, thanks for being a part of the show.
Thank you so much.
Once again, I want to thank Sara for being part of the show and helping me and my listeners like you build a better opportunity for the future. Because regardless of what we might be suffering as ailments, maybe a little bit of a headache, maybe a little bit of neck pain, maybe even breaking both her neck and head, especially with what Sara even shared about the accident that she had, it makes us realize that we have to work on ourselves, both physically and mentally, to get to where we need to be. But yet, at the same time, when you go through life, do you ever think that you're going to have a lot of struggles? Probably not. We don't have that capacity to understand that, especially at a young age. Sara had to go through a lot of different things, though, especially being born premature, to overcome some of the adversities and even the struggles that were placed on her. But as I even said in the beginning, it's about those stitches. Those are the things that are the battle marks that have shown that we've endured and have so much to offer in creating opportunities to share our stories, to share our perspectives, which even Sara did with her book. I love the fact that she has this grit, but yet at the same time has the grace to give so many opportunities through her clients, through the people that she's interacting with, to create opportunities even in the scariest of times. Being even a nurse coach, something I never even heard of that even existed, just shows the fascination of this world that we have all kinds of coaches and proves my point that regardless of who you find, there is always going to be somebody out there that is willing to walk alongside of you, no matter what might happen. But even with all those holistic experiences, being able to have impacts and directions of where you want to go in life, you have to understand that even if you want to take that holistic approach, even if you wanted to have a wholesome experience and live life as it's meant to be lived, not knowing what to expect and reacting to the changes, you can obviously see that there's always going to be opportunity to build a bigger, better version of yourself, regardless of where you are going. But the challenges, the things that we are going through in our life, do require us to have inner work. We are never going to be that perfectionist that we always wanted to be. I know that it's not possible because I almost ended my life thinking that I had to work so hard, trying to achieve something that was not possible to achieve. Even friends, even a past guest, one of my high school friends, Amanda Bacon, who we've had on the show, even pointed this out to me at a very young age, and I refused to even listen to her. Many years later, I'm finally listening to her. I'm finally seeing that this bigger picture of trying to think that you can overcome anything with sheer wit, determination, and grit. That is not how life works. But yet, we have to find the margin in which is the intersection of taking care of yourself and taking care of others. I know what you're doing. You're not only listening to this podcast, but you're doing probably multiple other things. Running, weightlifting, taking care of your children, driving to and from the grocery store, maybe a restaurant with your hubby or even your wifey. Maybe it's somebody else that you have been spending time with that you shouldn't be spending time with, if you know what I mean. But yet at the same time, you are distracted. You are not living in that margin because you're taking care of other things that you shouldn't be taking care of right now, because this is your time to be a little bit more intentional and to make something even more impactful happen in your life. But I get it. In this ever-changing world of busyness, when am I ever going to find time to just focus on one thing at one time? But yet at other cultures, that seems to be always the opportunity to be able to work on those kind of aspects. Look at even Spain for that matter. They have times in the afternoon in which they take a siesta, a break, a rest, and then they go back and work in the evening. Yes, here in the United States, we certainly don't do that, and I know for a fact why we don't do it. It makes zero sense to be able to do that because we rather just work one straight continuous pattern and then have the rest of the time for ourselves. But that isn't how life works in other countries. Being more intentional instead of scrolling on your phone for that matter. Endless clickbait of Facebook ads, Instagram posts, even Twitter feeds for that matter, can certainly distract us from the bigger life that we have. Netflix and chill. Being able to watch Hulu. Play games on your PlayStation, Xbox, or whatever video game system that you have. All of those are ultimately distractions from the overall purpose that you might be living in your life. Living in the margin. Because that margin, as much as we want to call it work and life balance, sometimes doesn't always work. And I get it. I understand why. There's no such thing as pure work and life balance, which even another coach, even outside of today's episode, even joked about with me. There's no such thing as balance. You have to be understanding that the little things that you have that shift you into doing even more little things comes with consistency and practice. It comes with a work and life balance. With all the demands and all the supports and all the assessments, all the tools that are available to us that create that balance in order to work on balance, to see the overall development of balance, means that we have to have an introspective and extrospective look at who we are. Don't you understand? I know that that sounds all confusing using those big words that I've been using for the last few moments. But yet, that's what's really pushing us into a corner. All these things that are part of our life, all the things that we have to contribute towards our physical and mental health, all the things that we have going on in our life is all because we're not living in balance. And friends, if you're not living in balance, you are not living at all. You are striving towards something that will never be achievable, even if you think it is, because you're always going to be spinning and spinning and spinning, never thinking that you're ever going to get there, because all you've been doing is working, 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 with no toil, no result from it. I've been fortunate enough to have a variety of clients now that have seen that other side. Even after over 19 months of being open, I'm starting to see the people that are really taking this seriously. They've seen success for their own eyes. Even my friends over at Next Generation Personal Training are starting to see the fruits of their labors by opening a cycle studio that I'm super excited about and being able to have the opportunity of a lifetime to work on things that even the owner, Brock Rollick, that we've had on the show, achieved the things that he's been looking to do for such a long time. That didn't happen overnight. He was spending a lot more work. There was a lot more balance that was happening even later on. But it didn't happen overnight with that transition. It started with just a small incremental step. Even Brock would tell you that some of the biggest challenges that he had in his life, even as what he shared on the show on episode number 99, was about understanding what he did wrong and what he needed to do to fix it. But Sara's story, the guest that we've had on today's show, really shares with us and exemplifies the fact that you can do this and that there are people that are willing to help you find that balance, even if that means that we have to live in the life of margin. I know that it's so tough to find that life, to find that purpose, but that's where it starts from, which I have said. It's about the purpose in which we stitch together. The battle scars that we have in our life come from all those past versions of ourselves, sometimes letting ourselves down and sometimes seeing success where we never seen success before. Even if we're able to coach people in a variety of different industries, even nurses for that matter, we have to learn to endure. We have to learn to find the opportunity. We have to learn that even in the scariest of times, there will be strangers, demons, things in the other world that will make us feel like we're petrified to be able to work on ourselves. But if we challenge ourselves to do the inner work, I promise you that margin will turn into big dividends that will pay off, financial or otherwise. Because if you live in that life where you learn, grow, and inspire, I know that you will be able to build the things that will allow you to have all the supports, all the things that will help others see their overall development. And all that you need to worry about is finding that happy medium. And that medium is closer than you might think. Take that time today. Write that journal. Write that next chapter in your book. Record a podcast. Work on your vision board. Work on the things in which you want to achieve as your goals. Start writing down what those goals look like, especially as we get closer to the end of this year. 2025 is soon going to be upon us. But yet at the same time, find a part-time job. Not in the financial sense, and not in the sense in which it knocks that time away from you. That allows you to spend time away from your phone. Instead of endlessly scrolling through all the various options that are on your Apple TV or Android device. And find ways in which Amazon and even Temu, for that matter, don't have an influence over your buying patterns. Find the margin in what you are able to create. Find the margin in which you're able to contribute. Because when you contribute and create, there will be a lot more to take care of than just the endless scrolling on your phone, or even the 2 kids that you might have, or even the husband and wife. You will find something else that you'll be passionate about. And hey, maybe you'll be a small business owner yourself. Maybe running a small little store outside of your home. Maybe even running the things that you always wanted to passionately do. And it was all because you changed your mindset to live that all-conscious, balanced life without sacrificing who you are. Thanks for listening to episode number 144 of Speaking from the Heart, and I look forward to hearing from your heart very soon.
Thanks for listening. For more information about our podcast and future shows, search for Speaking from the Heart to subscribe and be notified wherever you listen to your podcasts. Visit us at www.yourspeakingvoice.biz for more information about potential services that can help you create the best version of yourself. See you next time.